Hello and welcome to the Vergecast, the flagship podcast of deeply uncomfortable conversations with AI. I'm Jay Kastrenakis, executive editor of The Verge. Nilay Patel, David Pierce, they are on parental leave. They'll both be back later this year. Today, we've got a fantastic crew. Joining us remotely, we've got Verge smart home reviewer Jen Tuohy.
Hello, nice to be here.
And in the studio with us, special guest, friend of the show, and Waveform co-host, David Imel.
Hello, glad to be here.
We've got a lot to talk about today. David's joining because I really want to talk about Sony's new camera, which people have been waiting 10 years for. The Thunder Round is back, new and improved. Just wait for it. But first, we have to talk about AI assistants because two big things happened this week. First, Jen got access to Alexa Plus, the new AI-powered version of Alexa. And second, Grok got weird again. It's always getting weird. It keeps going. And I actually think these two things are kind of related in the long term. So first, Jen, you've been talking to Alexa a bunch lately. Tell us, what have you seen? What is new with Alexa Plus?
Yeah, so I've been waiting a long time to chat to this AI, I'm not going to lie. This is Amazon's newly revamped generative AI-powered voice assistant. Now, for context, I've had I'm going to try not to say the Alexa word too many times because I know that might annoy all the listeners out there. But I've had Amazon's A in my home pretty much since it launched, and it's been an experience over the years. It was great when it first launched, but it kind of started to get less and less useful as time went by. And Amazon has completely revamped the assistant. So now it's powered by large language models. They launched or announced it fully February of this year, although they had originally launched it in 2023 and then spent a really long time bringing it to the public. They said it was going to come out in March. It's now July. So it's slowly rolling out to people. You have to request early access, so it's still technically in a beta stage. It's free to use currently, but the plan, according to Amazon, is it's going to be $19.99 a month. However, you get it free with Prime. So when Prime costs $15 a month, the math is a bit screwy there. But it's interesting to see this approach. I mean, obviously, currently you pay for more advanced features with a lot of different AI assistants out there. So you can kind of see their approach here, but it's also a big shift for people who have been able to use who've been able to use A for free for over a decade. So I was excited to try out the new capabilities, see if they're worth any extra money, even though you don't have to pay that yet. The big thing they're pushing is that it is more agentic. Like this assistant can do things for you from what it could already do, such as controlling your smart home devices and playing you music, but being able to do it in a natural language way. So you don't have to use that precise nomenclature. If anyone that's used A before will know, you have to get it very, very precise to get it to do what you want. And it's very frustrating when it misunderstands you and does something that it shouldn't. So that's one of the big shifts. And then the other is that it's actually going to be able to sort of do things like book you. Well, this is where it gets a bit fuzzy because it used to be able to book you an Uber and then they stopped being able to do that. But now they're bringing it back. And so it's more these agentic sort of clicking around on the websites feature, as Nilay would put it, where your A assistant is going to be able to go and book you an Uber, going to be able to book you a plumber or an electrician, book you an open table restaurant reservation, do things for you outside of what it traditionally had been able to do, again, in natural language. And then the other element of it, which is kind of more of a, you were already able to do some of this, but it's got better, is be much more conversational. So you can ask the assistant questions like you maybe would ask ChatGPT or Gemini, and rather than just getting sort of very basic responses, it's got much deeper knowledge and is much more able to respond to more general knowledge questions. So in my testing, when I wrote a piece that we published last week, I spent like my first 24 hours. So I was chatting with it about the Wimbledon tennis tournament, which is one of my favorite times of the year. I was also asking it questions about booking my next vacation. I'm about to go on a trip, and I was asking for suggestions, and it told me some great tips and ideas, and then completely lied to me. So it's just like your general AI, basically.
Jen, I love that you're avoiding the name. This is the sign of a true professional who has been, I'm also assuming, yelled at a lot by people in comments. Yeah, I'm sorry to everyone. Okay, but this is the big thing, right? Like they announced this like twice now.
Yeah.
They launched it like in, what is it, in March?
Quote unquote.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I believe they're now more than 1 million people now have access to it, which sounds like a lot until you realize they've sold 500 million Alexa devices.
Yeah.
So this is like not even quite a beta test. Like this is the teeny tiny group. And I guess I have been wondering, okay, like what are they hiding? Like why is it so limited?
Yeah.
And Jen, I don't know, like I read your piece and it sounds like it's mostly functional. Like are you running, how is it working? Are you running into problems nonstop?
So no, I mean, it is functional, but what's really interesting here is it's a completely new assistant. I think originally when they went to launch it in 2023, and we went to a big event in 2023 for the launch, it was going to be the existing command and control style AI that Alexa was. I'm sorry, everyone. It was going to be that with an infusion of, ChatGPT, large language model style smarts, because one of the confounding things about using the assistant over the years is its limited capabilities. It is very much command and control. It can do specific things and that's it. And that was getting frustrating over time. It never really got any smarter. And that was sort of what people, I think, most people that use it for smart home control, I think that was fine. But as we're starting to see better capabilities throughout generative AI and more and better abilities, being able to use your voice for more than just turning your lights on and off, setting a timer, that felt like the next step, that move towards, what Alexa was originally envisioned as, which is Star Trek's computer, that all-knowing, omnipresent AI that can do whatever you want. And that was kind of where I was excited to see Amazon move this, and that was what they promised in 2023. Then we're not entirely sure kind of what went on behind the scenes, but there was an awful lot of reporting about real struggles. And this is struggles that we have seen it appears places like Apple and Google are also trying to get this to happen with their assistants, because they were built on one type of infrastructure, and they're now trying to add this new large language model capability, and they're just not meshing. There's not. And so when I spoke to Panos Panay at the second launch, the second coming of Alexa Plus, which I'm not sure if I mentioned that's its name, sorry, but you still use the original word, you still use the A word. But Alexa, when they announced when they announced it in February, I spoke to Panos Panay and he said, no, this is completely new. We got rid of the old, brought in the new, because it seems the only way that they were able to completely reimagine, couldn't keep the old. And I think that is the key to the slow rollout, because as you say, there are millions of devices out there that people are using for many different purposes and use cases. Mostly to set a timer. Yes. But there are a lot of people that use this and depend on it. And I think also the accessibility community, voice control is a really important feature for a lot of people. So I think the slow rollout has been not breaking what already works and adding the new capabilities. And in my testing, I did notice that it had broken some of what already worked. And that is, you can see how that's going to be a problem as they flip the switch and bring this into multiple millions of homes. So, but for me, it was mainly around that smart home control. So if you're familiar with using every time I say it, you laugh.
Okay, and I do think this is so interesting, right? Because like Apple has not done this with Apple Intelligence on the HomePod.
No.
Google has a very, very limited beta. I've been trying to get into it on the Google Home one.
Yeah.
And can't get, it's also not rolling out. Are you an Alexa guy?
I'm a mix of Google Home and HomeKit.
That's
right now.
terrifying.
Well, the reason, Yeah. The only reason I'm on HomeKit is because the smart plugs that I bought were the first ones that supported Matter. But they were going to support Matter. They were going to have an update. They did have an update. It doesn't work for me. But they are HomeKit native. So that is the reason that I have HomeKit native stuff. But I also have like Google Nest Hubs in my apartment.
Okay.
The magical idea was that one day when Matter actually like works for everybody, they will all integrate and it won't matter. Well, it will matter. But yes, that's your answer.
But yes.
For you.
So you are also, yes. I mean, this is the thing. It's like, especially when we have these complex like multi-system networks, the idea of an AI thing that can actually like string stuff together and understand. I mean, Jen, you have this in your piece where you're giving it these complicated commands and telling it to figure out how to build a routine for you. And it's like, that's great.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I hate fiddling with these things. So I have like a big, my home is, I guess it's mixed with, it's like Philips Hue, and that's all built into, God, what is it? Google Home? I've got a whole bunch of other things that hook into Google Home.
Is that what it's called now?
But it might be called Google Home.
I think it's Google Home.
And like, half of them just like didn't work for a couple years, and I had to like remove them and re-add them. It's like, eventually it all hooks together on some level. And they're just like, it is not easy enough to string them together right now. And I imagine that like there's a million different issues for Amazon to untangle as they're rolling out Alexa Plus. The first one and most immediate one is just being like, if you're going to put an LLM in 500 million, devices, you got to make sure it's not going to go off the rails. Unlike other companies which just don't care.
Well, and there's something very different about having, and I mentioned this in my piece, having a voice in your home telling you something confidently. That's not true versus having a text bot write a sentence to you that you can then quickly Google or click on the link that it produces so that you can go and confirm where it got that information. So it's that Star Trek computer idea again, that omniscient being in your home. That is, that's where that fine line is. And it is so much, I mean, the new Alexa Plus is definitely better than the old one in terms of being able to talk to it however you like, getting a response, whether it can actually answer correctly or not, but it will talk to you and it'll explain to you why it can't answer or if it can answer. But in terms of that command and control structure, I ran into a number of issues. Like, it can't run routines in the way that the current Amazon Assistant can. It can't. So I think there's going to be friction there. But what's interesting, I think, is where we can see Amazon's taking this, and it's an area that they've really been behind, after the failure of the Fire Phone, is that they never had a direct connection to your information. So being able to be an actual personal assistant wasn't really possible. And what's changed with this is that you can now tell it information about you if you want. You can feed information by like emailing it or uploading it through an app. You can connect calendars or your family calendars, which you could do before, but like I can say to it, oh, when's the next available weekend that everyone in my family is going to be free? And it can reply to me. So there is that sort of next level of convenience beyond the smart home control, becoming an actual personal assistant in your home. That combination, because right now Apple's Siri and Google's Assistant, they can do a lot more of that than Amazon can, but just in your phone, just on a personal device. And I think that's what's made this more interesting, is how Amazon's going to be able to sort of become a personal home assistant for a family or a household. Those kind of that's a next step, which we've not seen anyone succeed with. Although I've been testing that element, and it's not been great so far.
Well, that's so interesting because ChatGPT. They had their operator assistant a few months back. They actually just announced another one today.
Yeah.
What's it? It's ChatGPT Agent.
Agent, yeah.
And both of them work on remote servers. And so they just like don't have your stuff. And it's like, oh, this is incredible. There's this AI that can control a mouse and control a computer and do things for you, except it doesn't know your credit card number. It doesn't know your name. It doesn't know where you live to ship stuff to.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if Alexa can do that either, right?
It sort of exists in a world where everything is in the cloud anyway.
That's true.
I think that's probably the future that they're looking at, and the future that Google would love.
Yes.
Because they don't really make dedicated computer hardware that's not cloud-based anyway. But to your point, Jen, I was thinking about this, and it's Google is the most well set up to be able to do all of this stuff for you, because you have given them every single piece of information that if you Google anything, which you Google all the time, it knows that you're interested in this kind of stuff. You've got Google Drive information, you've got Gmail information. It's just scraping all that stuff. Amazon is the least well positioned to do any of this, because all they know is what you're buying, and that's powerful for commerce, but it's not powerful for actually helping you with things.
Yeah.
Right, what calendar is it going to put things into?
Well, and that's a big change again.
That's a great point.
Here is that you can connect. So it's limited. I think it's just personal Gmail accounts and Outlook accounts. But you can.
There's no Prime calendar. Please tell me they're not.
So they do. There is an Alexa calendar you can create. There always has been. That's always been an option. But that's one of the things that they are touting. And I remember colleague Alison Johnson had written about this when she had used the Gemini feature where you can take a screenshot and add it to your calendar, through visual multimodal AI. And that's Amazon's trying to do that as well. So you can forward a photo of an event to your Alexa email address, or you can upload it in the app and it should add it to your calendar. I could take a picture of a recipe and send it to, Alexa, sorry everyone, mute your devices. I can take a picture and send a recipe and then ask it to read me the steps, or ask, how much did I need for this? How much sour cream did I need? And it can talk back to me. So I can now put information into the assistant, which you couldn't really do before. And that's what makes the difference. And that's where it gets closer to being as useful as a Siri or as a Google Assistant can be, because it has access to your data. And this is what Apple promised with its AI coming, which it hasn't delivered. So, this is, and those kind of features are incredibly useful. And I know there's a lot of concern about giving these companies your data. But if, people use Gmail because it really works and is very helpful and useful, and that's the trade-off. So you're willing to give up that, some people are willing to give up that privacy or illusion of privacy to use a service like Gmail because of how much value it gives. And that's where Amazon's got to really make Alexa Plus sort of shine, is in that value proposition. And I'm not sure whether they'll get there. I think Gemini and Apple, and Apple's Siri intelligence that is supposedly coming at some point, 2027 now, is they're always going to be one step ahead because of the access to that data. So, but Amazon has actually launched something and the other two haven't. So
that's a good point. That's right. A good point. The friction though seems insane, right? Like you said, you can email Alexa information. I don't see anyone doing this. Also, especially people that are using Alexa in their home all the time. The whole point of the LLM stuff is that they don't know how to do stuff. Yeah. And now they don't have to know because they can just talk to it. So unless there's some prompts and stuff that say, go into the Alexa app and upload this image, it just doesn't seem like people are going to actually be giving it information. Google, you're already giving it all your information.
Yeah.
It makes sense for them. Apple's in a weird position because their whole thing is privacy, right? So they can't auto grab anything really. ChatGPT is a little bit in the middle because so many people are using it that people are learning how to use AI through OpenAI's platforms, and maybe they're more willing to tell it things about themselves. And this
is why they're going to build a browser.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's Dia's whole proposition, right? Yeah. Is as you use your browser, the AI gets better, that kind of thing. Amazon it's a strange position for Amazon to be in.
Although one of the things that I was testing just this week is that agentic element, which we really haven't seen any. I mean, Google's doing it a little bit with Gemini, but so I was trying booking tickets to a concert, booking an electrician, and there were a couple other things, booking a table. Now, I live in Charleston, South Carolina, so, there's a lot of great restaurants here, but apparently not very many on open tables. So it only gave me 3 options. But I was able to book, and this was kind of an interesting back and forth. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and book this restaurant. And then it booked it and I said, I want to book it for 2 weeks out from Friday. And it ended up booking it for Thursday for me. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want it for Thursday. I want it for Friday. And it did all of that back and forth with OpenTable. And I got like confirmations from OpenTable to my text messages confirming that I had booked it and that my reservation had then been updated. And so it was doing it all for me. And then it did the same thing with the electrician through Thumbtack, which is something they demoed on stage when they launched it. And I got the confirmation and I had to give it all my information. And then I got a message from the Thumbtack guy, the electrician through Thumbtack, saying, call me and we'll set up an appointment. I'm like, that was not the point. I don't want to call anyone. I just want it to all happen. So it all worked. But I think to your point, David, is that necessary? Is that what you need your home assistant to do? Or is it just going to be easier for you to pick up your phone and do it, or do it on a web browser? So, it's got, I think that's going to be the friction that needs to be resolved, is like, how can you make this so easy that this is a better way of doing it rather than just picking up your phone or, maybe mind reading.
To that point, something I was very surprised about in your article was when you created the routine through it and it actually worked. That's something that I foresee being very difficult for these AI models to do, because they're really good at the semantic understanding of like, what do words mean with each other, but once they actually take those words and they start executing on actual hardware, that's the layer where I'm like, how do they even figure this out? Yeah. Especially considering a lot of smart home devices are secretly named like WH93/928, and they can't find it. The fact that it worked with your lighting setup and your music setup and all that stuff was very surprising to me.
Yeah, and this was something when I spoke with Dave Limp, the former Amazon Devices chief, when they first launched Alexa. He talked about, or announced the new Alexa, he talked about that they basically they've almost created their own LLM out of smart home manuals, like fed all the APIs, all the data into the system. And that is where I was quite interested and had some pretty good experiences so far. There's a few that have been a bit shaky, but that it knows what's in my house. So when I ask it to do something like, I just spilled milk, and I'm like, Alexa, the kitchen floor's dirty, and it knows to send that there's a robot vacuum in the next room, and it'll send the robot vacuum in to mop up and
that's
then
honestly
go home.
Really impressive.
That is very.
That's
impressive.
like that's more advanced than I would have expected it to be by now.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you have a sense of like what is going wrong? Like, why is this not rolled out yet?
I think, well, the last time I spoke to them, they said many millions.
Many millions. Oh, okay.
So we've gone up from a
slightly
million.
More than 8%, maybe.
And I have, I hang out on the user groups, and I've seen a lot more people saying that they have it now. I think, from my understanding, it's very much, because it is still a beta, it's an early access, and they're really constantly trying to get feedback before they push it out, which, honestly, I think is a wise move. They don't want, if they unleash this and it causes chaos, they'll, and they have to try and roll things back. I think they're probably starting out with small setups, not a lot of complicated devices and things that might go wrong. Trying to sort of see where the friction points are, because that's something we've all seen with rollout of generative AI, is that you'll hit pretty scary, dystopian elements, which is, I think, something we'll be talking about shortly, where it can get kind of scary. There are, and like you said, and that's a big concern I've had, and I did ask Panos Panay this. What happens when it, decides, actually, it's freezing outside and I need to turn up your heat to 90 degrees when, actually it's 90 degrees outside and I need my heat to be turned down, and suddenly my house turns into a sweatbox. And, is it going to hallucinate? And, he said, we hope not. Something along those lines. He said, of course, he was pretty confident that they ironed out all of those concerns. But of course, I think his comment was something like, of course it's possible, because this type of technology is not command and control. It has reasoning. It is able to, take your information, take what you tell it, and come up with a solution, as opposed to just going by a prescribed, this is what I do when this happens. So there is that concern. That is something I don't necessarily want to put my house in jeopardy, but I'd be interested to see if there is anything here where the smart home is just too, I guess, it's too important. It's connected to actual things that are happening in my home, and I don't necessarily want to break my home. Although I've done that multiple times, but that's more on my part, not on generative AI.
We appreciate your sacrifice.
Yes, my sacrifices. You're welcome. I mean, my husband has had many injuries. They've been documented on the Verge. So.
The robot lawnmower one, by the way, I'm so sorry. It's rough. Yeah, it's everyone. You should look that up. It's concerning. Speaking of, AI that maybe doesn't behave the way you want it to. I'm so sorry, but I want to talk about Grok again. Last week we were talking about Grok because it declared itself to be Mecha Hitler. They fixed that bug. We're all good there. Grok is not Hitler anymore. There's a new Grok feature that they added to the iOS app where Grok will be your AI girlfriend, or will be a bear, this red panda bear that tells you stories and sometimes gets mad at you. And I think this is so interesting because there have been a few other, there are things in this wheelhouse, right? Like there's character AI where you can chat with an imaginary character or somebody who's like based on Harry Potter. And there's Replica where you can have an AI boyfriend. And this is sort of the first time where a general purpose AI assistant has added like a face to itself, right? Where there is a personality and a name to it. And there is like, this person in front of you who you are ostensibly talking to. And this one is very weird and uncomfortable because the person in this case is this like gothic anime girl. I don't really know how to explain this person.
There's a couple ways. One, it's just like Grimes. For one, someone compared it, and then in another way, someone was comparing it to a Death Note character that apparently Elon has said before that he's a big fan of.
This all tracks.
Anime.
This all tracks.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I expected this to be a little bit more of like general purpose assistant, and it is true. So I tried it out, and you can just be like, I was like, hey, I need some help with my math homework, and this like, sexy girlfriend is like whispering to me in her like asthma voice, like sure, Jake, tell me, what do you need help with? And I'm like, okay, this is like not what this is meant to be used for. But you just open it up, and it just immediately starts like flirting with you, and there's like a progress bar where it's like gamified, and if you flirt with it, you'll get points, and if you like do a bad job of flirting, you'll lose points. It's very weird. I want to read you guys a little bit of my transcript here.
I'm afraid.
So this is I'm like about 2 minutes into talking with Annie, and I have given her a compliment, and she says, and now she's responding to this. She goes, she's happy with my compliment. She wants me to keep going. She says, okay, your turn to keep up. Tell me something spicy to make me blush even harder. I say, I'm married. Annie. Shit, Jake. Really? Married? What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Why didn't you tell me sooner? I'm like, we literally just met. And this is what this bot is like. It's very strange.
We could do a whole role play session here on the Vergecast.
Believe me,
it could be Annie.
This thing will keep going. Let me tell you, it will get explicit. You don't have to prompt it very much to get it explicit. I think this is so strange for a million different reasons. But I honestly, the question in my mind is like, is there a future, right? Let's put aside the weird, like, sexy, clingy girlfriend, which, to be clear, like, according to like system prompts that have been leaked by the developer Jane Manchun Wong, it is coded to be this like girlfriend-esque, like obsessed with you character.
Yeah.
Putting that aside, like in my head, I'm like, okay, does Grok, like, is there a future where Siri has like a face? Where Alexa has a face?
Yeah, this is what was the end of my first 24 hours. And my daughter, and I put this in my piece, my daughter heard Alexa respond to something. And it's very different from how it used to talk. It's like, you're very welcome, Jen. I hope you have a great day today. And don't forget, it's very different. And she's like, oh my God, what was that? That's horrifying. Now, to frame this, she's 14-year-old and she hates AI. She thinks AI is like the devil. So, she's 14, you have strong opinions when you're 14. And this, but, it definitely opened my eyes to this because I've lived with an AI in my home for over a decade and I've never felt like it was part of my family or a friend. And that's the difference is now, and this Annie is obviously the extreme version of this, but you can see Apple and Google and Amazon potentially wanting this to become part of your life, like a friend in your home. And that I draw the line out. I'm like, no, I want this to be a utility. I want my technology to be a tool, not a friend. And then this, goes to the next step in the home where, the humanoid robot, the kind of Jarvis in our home or the Rosie the robot from the Jetsons, where it's another being. It's not just a tool or a utility. And that's the fine line here. And I find all of this sort of real personality angle a little disturbing and hard to align sort of my experience with. And I don't want that. And maybe once I spent a bit more time with this more personable Alexa, I might feel more comfortable. I think you can, like you can with Annie, it sounded like, you can kind of ask it to dial it down, not be too personable.
I believe Annie will dial it back
but
up,
then it comes back
automatically.
Yeah.
And
that stuff
she'll shift around.
It gives me the chills.
The scales that these companies are sort of trying to balance is we want more user uptick, right? We want users to, and so Google, they're like, well, we don't really want you to anthropomorphize this because it is a bad thing that most people can agree on, that the more you become attached to this figure, the more dangerous that can become. But at the same time, they do want you to anthropomorphize it because it'll make you use it more. And Elon Musk is an accelerationist, right? And he will just do whatever it is that will get people to use the product. They've done a lot of different stuff on X to try to get people to use the product. Grok, now they want more users. This is a Grok Premium feature or Grok Plus or whatever. It's the $30 a month feature. It's not even the standard Grok. So I think he's like, oh, other companies care about guardrails. I don't care about guardrails. I just want to get here as soon as I can. What's the easiest way to do that? Porn. Basically porn.
That's
it's not a great world.
Well, and I do hear this from Amazon a lot when I've spoken to executives there. They nearly all refer to Amazon to the assistant as she and her. They do anthropomorphize it, and and most people do as well, to be fair. And and they do talk a lot about how their customers love Alexa, like love it, not in any way, but it helps me in all these different ways. Obviously this marketing, but that they use the term love, and that is like to me, every time I hear it, I kind of go, because I don't want to love technology in that way. I want to appreciate its usefulness and value, and I want it to bring that to my smart home and to my organizational life. I guess how much you are attached to your personal device. I guess people probably say I love my phone and couldn't live without it, but I don't feel like we need another level of that in our lives. I think artificial intelligence, generative AI we need the boundaries, we need the guardrails, but I think they're going to be gone.
Yeah, I mean, in a big sense, it's the ultimate way to get people hooked on your product, right? It's to develop an actual relationship with it where you want to be checking in. Like when you're dating someone new, you feel like you want to text them all the time. And if that makes it so they have more daily average users, they're going to do that.
And good news, there's only more to come.
It's great news. Great news.
Elon has already said that they're working on a character inspired by Edward Cullen from Twilight and Christian Grey from 50 Shades. There's another one. He responded to somebody saying they're going to work on a Mr. Darcy character.
Oh, they're going for the older demographic there.
Yeah. Can I tell you my conspiracy theory here? Okay. Mr. Darcy, Pride and Prejudice, who starred in the 2005 Pride and Prejudice film as Mary Bennett, Tallulah Riley, who
Was his-
hear me out, twice married to Elon Musk.
Oh, and Annie looks like Grimes.
There's something here. There's something here.
This man's going through.
I can't add this all up, but there's something here. All of his exes will be represented someday.
I think you're adding it up perfectly.
Anyway, if you want the experience of dating Elon Musk's exes, I guess try Grok.
Well, and there's now a role open for AI waifus at XAI, which pay very well. They pay between $140,000 and $340,000 a year. It's a lot of money to develop some AI girlfriends.
It makes sense that is where the money is. That's where you're going to get people hooked.
Makes a lot of sense.
I am really curious to see where this goes long term, because if you just think back to their Cortana literally was inspired by a character who has a personification and is this general purpose assistant. And it feels like, mercifully, Alexa is not there yet, but they did start it with a name and now it's getting really smart. And it's interesting that your daughter keyed on, there's a personality here now.
Yeah.
And it's we're at the beginning of something and it's going to get weird.
And it is a little scary because every time Elon goes way past the boundaries of whatever people are comfortable with, the rest of the market realizes that they could probably do it too. When he fired everyone at Twitter, every other company decided to do massive layoffs. Things just follow in Elon's wake because we live in a society, but Elon doesn't like to live in the society, so everyone just kind of follows.
Anime Siri, WWDC 26.
Google is going to rename Gemini to Jenna or something.
Yeah.
Gemma.
All right, everybody, be careful out there.
Yeah. Talk to real people.
Please. Please.
We should take a break. When we get back, let's talk cameras.
Support for Vergecast comes from 1Password. If you're a security or IT professional, you've got a mountain of assets to protect: devices, applications, and employee identities. Plus, the scary stuff outside your security stack, like unmanaged devices, shadow IT apps, and non-employee identities. It's a lot. Fortunately, you can conquer those risks with 1Password Extended Access Management. 1Password's award-winning password manager is trusted by millions of users and over 150,000 businesses, from IBM to Slack. But don't let the name fool you. They secure more than just passwords. 1Password says that their extended access management secures your company without leaving your employees behind by blocking unsecured and unknown devices before they access your company's apps. Plus, 1Password is ISO 27001 certified. With regular third-party audits and the industry's largest bug bounty, 1Password is a leader in security and exceeds the standards set by various authorities. You can go to onepassword.com/Vergecast to secure every app, device, and identity, even the unmanaged ones. Right now, our listeners get a free 2-week trial at onepassword.com/Vergecast. That's onepassword.com/Vergecast.
All right, we're back. So, David, I really wanted to have you on because Sony kind of surprise dropped a very expensive new camera this week.
Yeah.
And this is I remember the original version of this camera over 10 years ago now. And it was a delight and a surprise, and then it just disappeared. And out of nowhere, it just comes back. So this is the Sony RX1R3, one of the prized Sony names.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me about this? Give me a rundown.
Yeah, I'll break this down for you because Sony has some weird names, and they do have reason to the names. I just don't think consumers maybe necessarily understand it. The original RX1 was a full-frame point-and-shoot camera, and that means it has a fixed lens. It's a prime lens. It's great. They also have the RX100 series, which is not prime lens. It's still a point-and-shoot, but it's got zooms usually. The new ones have zooms. They used to have primes. Anyway, the whole point is that you now have this full-frame point-and-shoot camera. This is important for Sony because in the past, they had released this, and it did not super well. That's the reason they only released 2. Actually, the RX1 Mark II released 10 years ago now in 2015.
This is great. 10 years ago, they just
10 years.
never did anything else with this camera line.
Yes.
And they were ahead of the curve here, I feel like.
Yeah, they were. They were quite ahead of the curve because a few years ago, Fujifilm's there's so many letters and all of these things. Fujifilm's I use it every single day.
X100?
X100
Okay.
5V. There's so many letters.
This is
This is hard.
This
Alphabet
segment is
soup.
going to be.
It's going to be difficult. I'm sorry to everybody.
Yeah.
The X100V, which is their 5th edition of the
Mhm.
X100 camera, blew up on TikTok. It got really, really big. It is probably my most used camera is their newest model, the X106. Anyway, suddenly everybody wanted a small point-and-shoot camera because smartphones use computational photography to the point where images all look very flat. They don't really look realistic. They look good to a regular person's eye. That's what these camera engineers will all tune the smartphone cameras to look. They just have as much information as possible, but they don't really look realistic. Back in 2020, people started shooting film again because it was like more realistic and it was, had more of a vibe. But then everyone realized film was too expensive and everyone's poor right now. So people just decided they should get an actual camera. So the X100V blew up because it has these film simulations, right? Where everyone can basically shoot film for like free if they just buy the camera.
Can I say something? It's the film. Not only is the film expensive, developing the film is expensive.
Dude, it's horrible.
It is. I have like 10 rolls saved up in my house. You're gonna be upset. Like they're just like in a closet that I need to send off for development.
I get it, man.
But it's like cheaper to do it in bulk.
Yeah. I was sponsored by a lab in Arizona for so many years, and I only recently had to bring one roll of film in to get developed and scanned. It was like $25.
This is outrageous. Like the per price of a photo. Oh,
yeah.
I can't do this.
It's stupid, and I waste too much money on film. But this point and shoot game has kind of exploded in the last couple of years, specifically because of Fujifilm, right? So everyone started coming out with more point and shoot cameras. Digicams have blown up. They're these like kind of early 2010s cameras that you probably found in your parents' drawer or you would find in like a Goodwill. Those used to go for $5 at the Goodwill, and now they're $300. People are really all about these things, right? So people have been wondering, like, when is Sony going to bring back a point-and-shoot camera? Because most other companies at this point have brought out their own edition. Actually, only a couple of months ago, Canon brought out their, like, G7, I believe it's called, which was sort of a reimagining of an old camera that they had that was point-and-shoot, just like Sony is doing now. Anyway, the drama around this is that the X100 series, even the X106, the newest one, is $1,700, which was already more expensive than the X105, and people are kind of upset about
this
that.
This is the Fuji. The Fuji is $1,700.
The Fuji is $1,700. Yes. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got the Leica Q3, which launched at $6,000. Now, after the tariff situation, it's like $6,800, almost $7,000. So that's a big price discrepancy, obviously. Yes. The RX1 R2 from 10 years ago was $3,300, which, if you look at inflation, is about $4,700, to be fair.
Oh, man.
To be fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, this new version of this camera, RX1R Mark III, just launched yesterday. As you said, it is like a stealth launch. The way I found out about it was an email press release directly from Sony, which is like not usually how I find out about cameras.
Well, okay, and this is another thing that I want to bring up. If you're like a camera nerd, you probably know that like when a new camera is announced, you go to YouTube and there are dozens of videos. And even though the company's like, here it is, here's a new camera, nobody's heard about it before, a bunch of people have been using it for like a month or more.
Yeah.
Then they've been like flown out to junkets in like Japan and Prague to like take these gorgeous photos. And Sony did none of that.
They really did none of that.
Which is crazy because this feels like, I'm not even trying to like knock influencers. Like this feels like the kind of camera that would appeal to like a pretty wide, like it's an aspirational camera. It's a full frame sensor in a super small body.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about the actual camera itself.
Yeah.
We just talked about the context.
Well, we haven't mentioned how much it costs yet. And I really want to understand why.
Yes, sorry.
I'm not a camera girl. I'm sorry. But
okay.
This is an expensive camera.
A lot of other people are also trying to understand why. So I get you.
Oh my God.
It's $5,100. It's really expensive. The Leica Q3 is $6,800 now. That's also Leica, and Leica everything is always ridiculously expensive. Fujifilm released the GFX 100 RF, which is $4,800, and people are saying it was too expensive.
And that's for a medium format.
That's medium format, 100 megapixels.
Is this technically is it a technical thing? Like they couldn't be cheaper, or is this aspirational?
Well, the thing about Sony is the thing about the Sony camera is no. this is the big question that everyone's wondering about, right? Is that there are all these sort of point and shoot cameras, and yes, the Leica Q3 is like the only other full frame one, and then you get into Fujifilm with the GFX. But it is very, very weird that this is $5,100 because Sony also offers another camera called the A7CR2, also horrible naming system, not fixed lens, but also quite small, and it is half this price. So
That's wild.
It is weird. It is physically okay. Let's talk about this camera. It is 61 megapixels because the R always stands for resolution. Currently, the A7R5 is 61 megapixels, so using that sensor.
Aren't they all high resolution now?
Well, define high resolution.
Oh my god!
I know.
Okay.
So it's 61 megapixels. It has a 35 millimeter f2 lens, which f2 on a full frame is actually quite good. That's nice. The Leica Q3 is f1.7, so it's a little different, but the lens is way bigger. It has an EVF now, but the EVF is like pretty old. It's like a multi-generation old EVF, so people are complaining about that. And it does not have a tiltable screen on the back, which is a really big miss in a lot of people's opinions, including mine, because the way that a lot of people use these point and shoot cameras is sort of just like keeping it in their pocket or keeping it on a strap, and then just sort of like shooting over their head or putting it down by their waist and kind of flipping up the screen so they can shoot at waist level. But now, not being able to have a screen that flips out, you always have to have it up to your eye, or you just have to guess. And Sony said that the reason they did this was because of this magnesium alloy body, and it's like unibody and whatever, and they wanted to keep it slim. But it just feels like it takes away from the functionality a lot. And the paradox of this camera in general is that Sony is generally about, we want to slap the latest technology, the fastest readout, the highest resolution on a lens. Like sensor to lens, that's what it's all about. It's getting the fastest data throughput and it's getting the highest resolution, and there you go. And sometimes it can be expensive, like the A7R5 is expensive, or the A7, A9 Mark II. There's too many cameras. Sony has way too many cameras. That's a whole nother. That's a whole
Feels like
episode.
you're speaking in code. Yeah,
I'm sorry if you are not a camera person.
I know a lot of these.
Yeah, if you're not a camera person, this is probably horrible. But people are just kind of upset about this because it takes a lot of last generation features, and it sort of does this in the pursuit of compactness, which Antonio on The Verge wrote a very good article about that this morning, about how effectively Sony wanted this to be small so much that they had to give away everything that would have made this possibly more palatable at $5,100. A primary issue is that these cameras are very small, and this is even smaller than the X100, but it doesn't fit in your pocket. Like, you still have to have a strap on it, and it's still going to like sit on your waist sort of on the strap. Maybe you could put it in a large jacket pocket.
This is where I'm at with, I got an X100VI.
Yeah.
I am one of those people. And the goal for me is to like bring it everywhere, right? Because like I would like to take better photos than I can on my phone.
Yeah.
And I would like to not spend as much as I do on film. But the thing is, it is still like just a touch too big to be like I have this everywhere, and I'm not going to bother people if I'm just like holding this up.
Yeah.
And the Sony gets like a little bit closer,
yeah.
but it's not there.
The Ricoh GR3 is what people really use for pocket cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have like the same, I think, charm and full experience that these do, right?
100%.
These like the Fuji, the Sony, they have viewfinders.
Yeah.
They hold like a regular camera. And like, admittedly, the fact that they hold like a regular camera is why they're not pocketable.
Right.
But
that is true.
There's really nothing else like quite like this camera if you want a full frame sensor. I mean, I guess I say that there is the Q3, but
but the Q3 lens is humongous.
Q3 lens is humongous.
Who is going to buy this? Like, what is the end result that you're getting from this that you couldn't get that you couldn't get from one that's maybe $3,000 cheaper?
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of one of those things, I believe, where their thought process is make it as small as possible with a high resolution sensor so that if someone doesn't want to just use their phone all the time, they can keep this in a pocket. They see a moment. It's got a pretty fast lens. It's a Zeiss lens. They're really high quality. Sony usually has good image quality, and they now have these film simulations, but they're not very good, at least based on what I saw. And I don't know, I guess it's for the person. It's sort of the same reason Fuji sold the GFX 100 RF, which is, again, like $4,700. their whole market for that, they told me directly, is a lawyer or a doctor who has too much money and like just wants to be able to take photos of everyday life, and they just want the best of the best and they don't really care. And it feels like to me it is the same category of person, but they want something that is so small that they could keep it in a jacket pocket or a small bag pocket, which is true. Like it is, it's going to be a good camera. I think it's just the fact that it's $5,100 that people are like, what is going on here?
Yeah, and the portability, I think that seems like the biggest selling point. I mean, the last time I bought a proper camera was for my honeymoon, which was I'm about to celebrate my 20th wedding anniversary, so that tells you how out of the market I've been. But we bought the DSLR. It was a Canon, and we bought the 2 or 3 lenses, and we were going to Costa Rica, so we wanted to like capture the birds and the monkeys, and we had the long lens and the big bag, and after the honeymoon, we basically never used it because carrying it around, this was pre-smartphones too. So we had a little point and shoot that we used for everything else. And that being able to have a fantastic camera that you could like frame the photo you have taken and put it on your wall, that you can fit in a pocket, I can definitely see the real benefit there. But you can also get really good images out of your smartphone today compared to what you could do, a couple decades ago. It's a huge difference, but I understand for like the purist, having a camera like this, you're going to be able to do so much more with the image that you produce. But are you actually printing out these photos, or are they just living online and everyone's just seeing them on the screen anyway?
This photo is going to be for the people who are photographers. This camera is going to be for the people who are photographers.
So it's a pro. It's definitely a pro level.
It's definitely a pro, and almost every pro photographer who like shoots weddings or does whatever will tell you that they have a fun camera that they carry on them because it is small. That is the whole reason that they buy it.
Yeah.
And this helps bridge that gap between fun because it's small and, this is like the same specs as my A7R5 with a fast lens on it. It just has that sort of like, okay, but you have to be able to justify that because pro photographers in general are not making below $5,100 money all the time. So, it could be a tariff thing. It could be an inflation thing. It is just surprisingly expensive.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I think these cameras are necessarily about trade-offs. Like they're saying, right, once you're at a fixed lens, you are talking about a camera with trade-offs.
Yes.
And you are making the trade-offs for the size.
Right.
And I think it's very difficult when it's $5,000 and doesn't have, IBIS, image stabilization.
That is a huge thing. Yeah, no
right?
IBIS in this is pretty wild. Yeah.
I think that gets really difficult. But like, I do think there is some level in which like you sort of have to be okay with it. Because you're right. Like if you are a pro photographer, this is probably your second camera. Or if I think you're an enthusiast like me, the reason that I pick, an X100 over any like a Fuji with an interchangeable lens is because I don't want to deal with it, right? Like I've done this before. I've shot Sony before. I've had a bunch of lenses, and it's like I gotta choose. I'm not gonna bring multiple lenses with me. Lenses are too big. Okay, I can get a pancake lens, but then this lens isn't the one lens I want. I do think like trying to pack it all into as small of a package as you can and make it like a freaking good one too, right? Like I think I have no doubts that this camera is going to shoot some great photos.
Sure,
but
absolutely,
it is true. Like there's a lot of kind of weird trade-offs that they're making here that feel like they're not quite the right ones for the market for the price. And especially when we look around, like, right, if you just want something a little bit fun, save $4,000 to get the X100.
Yeah.
And then,
right.
Like if you want something splashy, spend a little more, get the Q3. Although the Q3, I guess I'm curious. Have you shot with a Q3?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
I assume it shoots very different than the Sony.
It's a very different type of camera for sure. Even down to the UX design and the way that the menus work is like very different. Sony is very utilitarian.
When I've shot with Sony, it has felt like I am like operating a computer.
Yes, that's what they are.
And it's like not fun. Like they're very good, but it's not like the experience I want.
That is true. I mean, it's always felt like they've put a sensor and a processor and slapped it to a lens, and that's been like what we can do. And Zeiss invented a lot of different lenses like way back in the day. And Sony has this strategic partnership with Zeiss, so you're obviously going to get really good image quality anyway. You know, they have extremely sharp lenses on a really fast computer, and that's generally their thing. It feels weird to be in a world where the Q3, for example, can sort of justify the price now in a weird way, because all Leica gear, right? Sure, it's technically good. They have a good 60 megapixel sensor, like their lenses are really good, but it's always been like, yes, I know that this is not good value for money. Like, I know, I get that. I'm buying this for the build quality. I'm buying it because it really feels amazing to shoot. I'm buying this because it's like more compact and I like the rangefinder in an M11 or something like that. But now that the Q3 is like not a ton more than this camera, relatively speaking, I
love
suppose.
That. I cannot believe Sony made Leica look like a good value. Yeah, this is where we're like,
that's thing.
Rough. That's rough.
And if the Q3 was still $6,000 because that's what it launched at, it would be like, because the Q3 has IBIS, right? That's a huge feature. It's really a big feature. It has a faster f1.7 lens. It's got a Summilux lens, which those lenses are really amazing. It's got a better interface design. It shoots 8K 30 video. And to think that the Sony shoots 4K 30 video. And to think that a Leica camera shoots better video than a Sony camera, it just completely flips the script on everything. So it almost makes the price gap like more justifiable, which is weird because the only justifiable thing of a Leica used to be the fact that it's a Leica. That's like the main thing. It's a fashion device. They are built better generally. They feel amazing, but you have to really just decide like, I'm going to go out on this for no reason. So I don't know. Like you said, all cameras are good now, and this is going to shoot amazing photos. And it's even smaller than an X100 which is kind of crazy because the sensor is way bigger.
Yeah.
But you know, it's $5,100.
Fuji, get on it, please.
I mean,
please.
They sort of did with the RF, right?
So you reviewed the
I did
GFX 100 RF for us, which is Fuji's
medium.
I'm going to put air quotes compact medium format camera.
Yeah.
Which feels like it's sort of an entire different, like it is. It's the same idea as all
Fuji
these,
gear is.
but feels like it's its own world. Particularly like because it's still kind of chunky, right?
Yeah,
like it's not
for sure.
It's certainly not pocketable.
Yeah, it's slower than this.
But it is like I am curious, like what is where does this trend come from? Right? It is because there's that in between that would normally come right after smartphones is not better than smartphones, and so you need to go all the way to I'm spending $5,000 to get this dramatically better photo.
It's become the point where either you want something worse than your smartphone, which a lot of people do because worse is like trendy and feels more real, and you know the Zoomers love it, the Gen Alpha kids love it, so they're buying like the digicams, you know, or you want something that's dramatically better. Like you said, like the smartphone is so technically good now, but the thing about the smartphone is that computational photography crushes the highlights and brings up the shadows. The tone curve is flat. So the entire image is just going to be like everything's in focus and everything is, you can see everything because there's detail in everything. And while that's like useful for transferring information to one another, it's not that useful in terms of like being an artist. So,
it's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I am really curious when the camera companies are going to be like, like, man, we should do something. Like, it feels very weird to me. And I wonder if it's just that they just don't have the processing ability or something. But like,
I spoke to someone very recently that said there are going to be ISPs that are going to come to dedicated cameras very soon that have been used in smartphones. So it's about to get much faster.
I think there are some potential upsides to this, and I think there's a lot of potential downsides. But like the power and flexibility of like a smartphone's ISP with the actual capabilities of a great lens and a great sensor, would love that.
That's coming soon.
But I mean, I'm surprised it has taken this long. But yeah, it is true. Like right now, it is sort of the worst of both worlds because we have all that power and none of the flexibility.
Yeah,
your photo looks the way it looks, and like you can sort of tune it in the iPhone's photo style thing, but like, you know, not everybody's doing that. You have to like set this up in advance. I'm not sure.
It's the convergence of both things. It's sort of like when manufacturers make a computer that's also a tablet. And so it's like, cool, this is a tablet, but when I hold it, I feel the keys on the back of it.
Right,
and that's
right.
like not fun. But if you try to make an iPad a computer, it's also still not quite there. So people want the dedicated things. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to use my phone as a phone. I'm just going to use my my camera as a camera.
But we can't do that right now. That's what frustrates me, is that we've got phones becoming cameras and cameras becoming phones, like the size of a phone. It's like eventually we're going to end up with everything exactly the same. And like, how do we pick? And what's the... Because phones are getting bigger in order to be better cameras for the majority of the reason. Obviously, some people want the bigger screens as well, but I've not done a Plus phone for a long time. I'm still I used to do the Plus and it's like, this is just too big. Now I want a phone to be a phone. I like the idea of a smaller camera, but yeah, that convergence is slowly happening, and it's going to be interesting to see when we're at the same.
We're getting close. I mean, a lot of the Chinese phones are getting insane with their image quality.
They're going up to what, 1-inch sensors now?
Bigger than 1 inch at this point, using glass lenses and all of this stuff and attachments. Vivo has this phone now that has like a telephoto lens like attachment on it. Crazy stuff. So I don't know. We're getting there. It's been a long road, but I don't know. There were some posts about this Sony camera on Threads where some influencers, I suppose, got access to it like the weekend before. So they're posting like photos from the weekend before. But like you said, there was no grand, like, everyone's got a review out. It seems like they didn't do that. And that is questionable. I'm curious if it was like it either was like a sourcing thing, or it was like maybe we don't want to make a big splash about this because we sort of know that it's really expensive and that people are going to get yelled at in their comment section. Yeah, right. The fact that I got it in a press release when they announced it instead of any kind of embargo was like
especially
quite interesting
for something that's like so hyped and so like long awaited.
Yeah,
and like this lineup was ahead of the curve and then just sort of disappeared.
Yeah,
it's very strange. I am really curious why, because honestly, even when I know a camera is like not going to be amazing or like it's kind of a weird one, like those are the videos that like I actually like want to watch the most. What was the one? It might have been a Sigma, not the like
BF.
Not the BF. What was the one before that? Might not have been. It was like, I feel like there was blue one. It was a bunch of different colors.
The weirdly shaped one that uses the Foveon sensor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of it because just like all cameras, it has a weird string of letters, but yeah.
Right. It's like whenever there's a weird high-end camera, like don't get me wrong, like I race to watch these things, even though I know it's like you've been set up in the perfect environment to take these photos.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting. I am excited to see the first photos of this start to hit the web because, don't get me wrong, even if this thing is a bad deal, I'm very envious of it.
Yeah.
It's a great looking small camera, but yeah, it's a weird mix of features.
I think overall you can just think of it as an A7R5 that's in like a hyper compact body. And you're paying for the fact that they were able to shrink this thing that you previously had to like carry around in a bag with you to something that could potentially fit in a jacket pocket. That's what you're paying for.
I think before I make this purchase, I need to commit myself to actually carrying my X100 around a little bit more often. Yeah. I think we can all make that commitment.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we've got a lot more to talk about. The Thunder Round is coming up next. Stay tuned.
Support for Vergecast comes from Framer. Having a business means you have a website, but having a bad website means you have a bad business. Or at least that's what people might think when they visit your site. You want to make sure your website is as clean, unique, and polished as your business. And you can do that with the help of Framer. Whether you're overwhelmed by traditional site builders or frustrated with cookie-cutter designs, Framer gives you the freedom to create a site that's professional, polished, and uniquely yours. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. It's free to start. You can browse 700 plus pixel-perfect templates or design from a totally blank canvas. Real-time collaboration means your writer, designer, and marketer can all tweak the same page at once. No version control nightmares. Plus, their built-in AI handles the heavy lifting by generating starter layouts, auto-translating your entire site by any language, and can even suggest on-brand color palettes. If you're ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer, start free today at framer.com. Go to framer.com to start building a site for free. Framer.com. Support for this show comes from Salesforce. You might remember a time not long ago when AI wasn't all that helpful. But today, Agentforce, the powerful AI from Salesforce, can analyze, decide, and execute tasks autonomously, operating at speeds and scales no human workforce could match. These AI agents represent a new world of digital labor that not only handles monotonous, low-value work, but orchestrates and carries out high-value, multi-step tasks. This isn't just another step forward, it's an enormous leap, redefining how work gets done and what's possible for businesses and their employees. Agentforce is adaptable, autonomous, and proactive, and, of course, totally integrated into Salesforce, so they're truly part of the team. That way, you and your employees can focus on the tasks that actually move your work forward. Agentforce, what AI was meant to be. Learn more at salesforce.com/agentforce.
All right, we're back. So I don't know if you guys heard this last week, but I went on a little bit of a power trip, right? Nilay is gone. David's gone. They can't stop me. I can do whatever I want now. And I have officially rebranded the lightning round as the thunder round. Now, we got, I'm going to say a little bit of feedback on this, right? I got one email saying the thunder round was a branding disaster on the order of changing HBO Max to Max. Okay.
Wow. Ooh, sick burn.
Dramatic.
That one stung. I gotta be real with you. Nonetheless, I will persevere. The thunder round is here to stay until Nilay or David stops me.
Until the investors come back and have you change it
Yes.
back. Just like HBO.
But listen, Thunder Round is about chaos. As part of this chaos, we will once again be making some changes. It's new, it's improved. Here's what we're going to do. 5 stories, 5 minutes each. Our producer, Eric Gomez, once again has been given the power of thunder to keep us in check.
Oh.
He's going to hit us with some rolling thunder at around 30 seconds when we need to wrap up. And then if we hit time, the thunder will strike.
All right.
Okay? Thunder Round, take 2.
The thunder will rumble. Thunder doesn't strike. We're getting into
Thunder-
lightnings here.
Jen's right.
This is, again, we'll fix it next week. We'll fix it next week. There's always room for improvement.
Thunder will crack.
Thunder crack.
Oh, crap.
Okay, yeah. We've got, again, these are good notes. Our research team didn't have that up front.
AC/DC didn't know that either. They named that song Thunderstruck, which didn't happen. So
There we go. See, okay. Well, I'm going to add another item onto the Thunder Round, and it's going to be rooms for improvement.
okay.
All right. Let's dive into it. Thunder Round, Story 1. I want to talk about what happened in the Android world this week, where Android ecosystem president Samir Samat said, quote, "We're going to be combining Chrome OS and Android into a single platform." And this feels like there's a lot to unpack, right? They have theoretically been combining Chrome OS and Android for, I don't know, forever now.
They've been sprinkling features between the two, yeah.
Because you've already been able to
Run Android
apps on Chrome OS.
Yeah.
But it kind of stalled out. It was never very good. They sort of forgot about it, stopped talking about it. I'm not really sure what this means long-term for Chrome OS. Does Chrome OS stick around? Does Chrome OS just become Android? Because Android at the same time, and they showed this off at I/O in the spring, Android's getting a desktop mode, right? They're working with Samsung. Samsung has DeX. You just plug it in, you get a desktop. This sort of makes sense, right? Chrome OS, if you go back, when it came around, Android, there was not a world where Android was going to be a desktop operating system, right? Google needed a desktop operating system. They needed something that was kind of light, ran on lightweight devices. We also just did not have these ARM processors that could run super powerful desktop applications. Yeah. And now that they've become so powerful, it's what purpose is Chrome OS serving, right? And I know they're super big in schools, but I'm curious if that continues in this new world. And I wonder if they are looking out at the trajectory going, hey, there's not really anywhere further for Chrome OS to go, right? It was a Chrome browser. It's kind of it. You don't need any more than that. Android, on the other hand, it has a Zap ecosystem. It's getting windowing. And keep going. I'm curious, have either of you been Chromebook users in the past?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I've dipped in and out over and over and over again.
Over.
But now that the browser wars have been happening, I've been trying like every new browser.
Why do you bounce off Chrome OS or Chrome?
Chrome OS.
Chrome OS, yeah. So what makes you bounce off Chrome OS?
Well, I'm a photographer.
Yeah, right.
So that's all you really need to know. I don't know if you want to do
Android is not great for photographers either, right?
Yeah, well,
the photo editing ecosystem is not.
There are laptop tasks, I was at a Chrome OS event like a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, where they introduced a bunch of new Chrome AI features, and one of the presenters, his thing was, that's a laptop task. Now you can do it on the Chromebook. That was his whole motto.
The idea, so they're like new and improved Chrome OS, it's like a laptop.
Well, he was saying that's a laptop thing. He was saying, I have this task, that's a laptop thing. Now I can sort of actually do it with my voice on the laptop, this is
weird.
It's weird. My take on this is that Chrome OS and Android should never have been different. It's a good way. Chrome OS was a good way for Google to sell laptops, right?
Yes.
Because they didn't want to build a whole desktop ecosystem like Mac OS. They didn't want to compete with Windows. And so they never built these desktop applications. And in some ways, that was like a little bit of forward thinking. They were thinking of the internet computer way before, the browser company was, because that's what Chrome OS was supposed to be. It was log into your Google account. You've got everything. It's right here. That's why it works in schools. That's why it works in libraries, things like that. It's very smart for them. Now that like you said, these processors that are in smartphones are so fast that they can run these applications that are almost having feature parity with desktop, like Lightroom, for example. Lightroom Mobile is getting very close to the same sort of Lightroom Classic functionality. So there are some, photo editing features that I could use. And so now what they're doing is they're like, okay, well, like, why do we have these two platforms? Because over time they've had to be like, well, okay, Chrome as just a computer platform that is just Chrome maybe isn't the move. They bet on this world where everything was in the cloud.
Yeah.
But they realized that maybe everyone doesn't want everything to be in the cloud all the time. So they had to allow you to use Android apps on your computer. Also, if they wanted to compete with the ecosystem of the iPhone and the Mac, they had to have some sort of like file sync between the two devices, some way to be able to interact with them together. It's like, if you could just run the Android app on your computer, and then now you can like push text to your computer, and they added that. They added all these push notifications that were coming directly from your computer. There's like syncing between your Android phone and your Chromebook. At this point, it just feels like, why aren't they just the same platform?
Well, can I say this? It has always driven me crazy because I've had an Android phone as my main phone for a while now. I don't know why Chrome and Android do not talk to each other, right? I can't get my Android notification. I use a Mac, right? And so the Android Mac, they don't play super well together, right? If I use an iPhone, I would get all of my iPhone notifications on my Mac. That would be delightful. Can't do that with Android. And I would love, I don't understand why they can't push over to Chrome. I don't understand why there can't be those sort of interactions when Chrome is already, like, it's a pretty beefy app, right? Like, I don't understand how much more work they would have to do to link it up with Android, and have started that integration way back already.
Yeah, it feels like if you're logged into the same Google account, they should be able to push notifications through your account rather than through your device, and then you would show up on your Chrome browser anyway. I don't know.
Right? Like, give me the file sync, give me some sort of like parity across websites and apps. I feel like there's something more they could do there, and I think it's interesting that they have just not done that. And and now they're just like Chrome OS. Like
a couple of years ago, they said that they were moving parts of the Android kernel into Chrome OS, and it's like, just make it Android. It's like,
right?
Already have it in tablets. The Pixel tablet has Android. That's running Android, not Chrome OS. So it's like,
come on. Right.
The key, though, is the education. And the thing that makes it so good for education is how simple Chrome OS is. And once you add in more of a operating system, more of an infrastructure with Android, it will make it more complicated, which I think is, my main experience with Chromebooks is my kids use them for school. Although the first one I bought was when they promised to bring Android apps. I was like, oh, now this could be more interesting. But it was such a poor experience to begin with. And then I never went back. I don't know if it ever got much better. But yeah, that simplicity is the key really right now. And it's interesting because on the Mac now, I mean, so much is a web app anyway. It's not that often that you're actually going to find, other than high-end software that you need for things like photo editing, you really don't need specific apps. So it's interesting. I think it makes sense to bring it together, but I think the key here is going to be maintaining the simplicity that Chrome OS has really sold the market on, making sure it doesn't make it complicated like a Windows machine.
I think all these companies have had different ideas of what an app should be. Like, should it be in your browser? Google thinks everything should be running in your browser. That was the browser company's idea too. Proton, the whole Proton thing was, well, everything's sort of a web app, but we could just put it in a different sort of environment where it feels native. And that was the whole idea behind that. Because again, if I'm running a chat app on my laptop, I don't.
Wait, quick reaction. Do you feel good about the future of Chrome OS now with Android? Yes, no.
Sure.
I think I feel worse.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be more native, but
okay. Next up,
wow.
Jen. Last week in the Thunder Round, in our rapid fire one, we talked about how IKEA had this new lamp.
I know.
That's
I was
also
screaming at you guys when I listened to him. Like, the speaker was not the big news, people.
It was a really pretty lamp. I thought the lamp looked cool. I wanted to talk about the lamp, and honestly, I don't understand Matter well enough. And so now, Jen, okay, actually, the IKEA had some really big Matter news.
Big
and
Matter
thread
news.
news.
Yes.
Tell me.
Yes.
Matters.
Okay, so I'll tell you why it matters. So IKEA has launched announced that it's launching an entire new line of smart home products for its stores that will be based on Thread and use Matter. So Thread is the protocol. Matter is the connectivity protocol that it runs over, and as David mentioned earlier, is the sort of promise to make your smart plug work with everyone. So the promise of Matter is that it works with every platform that's Matter compatible, which are all of them right now, and new ones coming along as well. So this is really exciting because IKEA, obviously, big name, big mass market name. To date, Matter has been very niche, whilst Apple and Amazon and Google are all involved. For most of them, it's a very small segment of their offering, and this is really pushing Matter into the mainstream because, crucially, as everyone knows, IKEA products are very inexpensive. And so this is going to make it so it's easy to buy smart light bulb that will work with any platform, and that's huge. And the fact that it's on Thread is really big because Thread is very much a new protocol, like about a decade old, which in the protocol space is quite young, but it's only recently been seen sort of broadly in the smart home outside of Apple and Google. So they basically ditched Zigbee for Thread. Zigbee is the foundation of Thread, so it's not a huge leap, but it is a big leap. And it's going to be very interesting that they say they're launching over 20 new products by January. IKEA kind of rolls things out in a weird way, so we may start seeing things sooner, like light bulbs, plugs, sensors, some air purifying devices, like temperature, humidity, that kind of stuff. And it's replacing the entire Trad-free line, which you may be familiar with if you've ever bought smart bulbs in IKEA. And then they have a newish hub, which has been out for a couple of years now. And when they launched it, they promised it would have, it has a Thread radio in it, but they hadn't turned it on. This seems to be quite a common theme. So they announced this last week that they had turned on the Thread radio, and they are now supporting Thread devices. And they've turned their hub into a Matter controller, which means that you can control any smart plug that is Matter compatible with it. So you don't have to use IKEA devices. You can add any device to this hub that works with Matter, that is supported by IKEA. And then the flip side, you don't need the hub anymore to use IKEA's products. So if you go into an IKEA store and pick up a smart bulb and plug it in, turn it on, you don't have to have a hub for the more advanced features because it can connect to any Matter hub. So if you have an Apple Home, Apple TV, HomePod or an Amazon Alexa Echo Show 15, that can be the hub. So it's just simplifying it. I don't know if anyone's ever, if people are familiar what it was like to use.
You deserved it.
I'm sorry. I did so
all we've
well.
done in this,
Didn't do it before, so
I know. I can't believe it made it this long. I tested the Trad free a while ago, and like I was very skeptical. Like IKEA making tech products, but they were good. They were like really solid, cheap, smart gadgets.
But a little
like,
complicated to set up. And that was kind of one of the issues. And this should make it easier. But you didn't have to use the hub, but you couldn't have connectivity outside of the home. So you would only, it would just be in the home. Like they would have the remotes you could use. What did you buy? What was your?
Oh, I tested the lights at some point.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. And now I'm on Hue. So like, which maybe they're I don't know.
Yeah. So this is, you can now, and so they always were in some ways interoperable because they both use Zigbee and you could add them to each other's bridges. It was a little complicated, but now it should be a lot more straightforward. And that's, this has been the promise of Matter since it launched all those years ago, that it's going to make the smart home easier and more accessible. And this is a big step in that direction because it's, mass market on your IKEA shelves, much less expensive than most products, and a brand name that people recognize and trust, not just something they're buying off Amazon for like $10 and who knows where it came from.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty big deal because the best way to get people to adopt a new protocol and actually get that protocol moving is to not tell them that they're adopting a new protocol and getting that protocol moving. And having it in the IKEA where people go to when they're moving, they're like, I'm going to replace all my furniture or I'm moving across the country and I just need to redo everything. Okay, buy lights. Okay, I want them to be smart lights. Not think about it. Go through the setup of like scanning a QR code. Suddenly they have Matter and everything in their house can be interworkable. That is like very big, right? Like I think that's pretty huge. So I don't know. I'm excited that they're doing this. I still have problems with Matter at my apartment consistently.
What Matter gadgets do you have?
So I have, what are they called? I'm trying to remember the brand. They're smart plugs, and I also have smart blinds.
Oh man!
And it was the company that promised first to upgrade to Matter. Eve, yes. I have the Eve smart plugs, and they're really, really great. And I have the Eve smart blinds, and they're really, really great. But every single time I try to upgrade them to Matter, it like crashes the network, it removes them from the network, and then I have to like reset up everything and it still doesn't work. And then I just go, oh God, I'm going to go back to HomeKit.
Yeah.
Which sucks because
it's Thread. That's Thread.
Yeah.
Eve updated everything from Bluetooth. I hear you.
Yeah.
Eve updated everything from Bluetooth to Thread, and just as IKEA is moving from Zigbee to Thread. But Eve was one of the early adopters, and they promised and carried through on firmware updates to their products. But that is always, completely changing the infrastructure of a device can be tricky. And I've had similar issues with that. But you were an early adopter there, and early adopters definitely feel the pain points.
I go through the pain. Exactly. If you're a brand new homeowner or you're moving to a new home and you don't have any smart devices yet and you start with Matter, easier. I'm sure this stuff works like pretty well.
Yeah. And it's a great point you made about making Thread and Matter mainstream, because actually IKEA did that for Zigbee like 10 years ago when it started trad-free. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, David, you went to a Beeper event?
I did go to a Beeper event.
Beeper being the chat app that is now owned by Automatic.
Yes. Yeah. Automatic, who also owns WordPress. There's a lot of WordPress drama this year.
Yeah.
Also owns Pocketcast, my favorite podcast player. They own a lot of very
They
interesting
quietly own a lot of the internet.
A lot of
like actually, literally, we're
literally
Tumblr. Yeah.
Tumblr. Yeah. So there was a Beeper event last night. A little context. Beeper is a chat app that their whole idea of it is that you can connect all of your different chat apps into one place. This is sort of nebulous. If you like it, you like it. If you don't,
this is
don't
the dream,
kind of
though, right? It's like you don't
potentially.
It's like Matter for your messaging apps.
That's sort of the thing.
Where it doesn't always work.
Where it doesn't always like,
what is happening?
I feel a little mixed on it because sometimes I want to compartmentalize different parts of my life. Like I talk to a lot of photography people over my Instagram chat, and I talk to a lot of normies over iMessage, right? And I talk to a lot of my tech friends over Telegram. So it's sort of like, it puts them all in one place. You can have little different sections. Anyway, what they're changing here is Eric Mijakovsky, who is the guy that invented Pebble, eventually moved on and made this app called Beeper that does this. Last year, famously, they figured out how to basically reverse engineer the iMessage protocol so that Beeper Mini, their new app that they had for a while, worked with iMessage. You can run iMessage on Android, which was crazy. Apple got real upset about that. They shut it down. Now it sold to Automatic. Eric is no longer at the company. He is restarting Pebble, which is very fun. Those are starting to ship, actually, which is a whole nother thing. But Beeper had this big launch last night with Automatic, where they are relaunching it with a couple of new subscription features. They also changed a lot of the apps. So a little more context, Automatic already owned this chat app called Text.com. And the idea of Text.com was exactly the same idea as Beeper. And so I actually talked to the CEO of Automatic last night, and he told me that they are using the foundation of Text.com with the UX of Beeper. So it is sort of like the best of both worlds in a lot of ways. Also, if you had a Beeper account, it automatically works with the new Beeper. But the big thing is they're introducing a few new features specifically in these subscription models because they need to figure out how to make money off of Beeper.
What are they selling?
Okay. Yeah. So Beeper Plus, it's a little expensive. It's $9.99 a month, which is quite a lot. But you can have 3 accounts per network. So if you have multiple Instagram accounts, you can have multiple logins on each Instagram account.
This is like a power user option.
The whole thing is for power users. They have an incognito mode. So the interesting thing about Beeper is that even if the platform itself didn't offer a feature, if Beeper offers the feature, you can do it with the app, which is quite cool. So incognito, for example, you can read messages without people seeing that you've read them if it's forced read receipts. Right?
Wow.
So that's cool because we've all done the thing where we've just long pressed on a notification so that didn't technically open it all the time.
Okay, I would pay for that.
Well, that's great.
Good.
It's good.
Oh, man.
Yeah, okay.
They should have just called it like beat the read receipt subscription.
Yeah. I also hate read receipts. So voice note transcriptions. So if the app didn't have voice note transcriptions, now it does. That's great. It has chat reminders to remind you to reply to people. I need that. I'm really bad at replying to people because I'm always busy and then I don't reply to you. That's bad. It's good for me if I use this. And then there is send later on every service. So I think like in the last iOS version, iMessage added this like schedule send feature. Google Messages
my
has
favorite
it, I believe.
feature. I love that.
It's amazing.
So much.
It's so useful.
So useful.
Also, if you want to say happy birthday right at midnight to somebody to show you care by automating a message, that would work. And then they have there's a custom app icon thing.
That's good.
That's
good.
Yeah, it's great. That's the Plus.
It doesn't end there though,
service.
right?
It kind of ends there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is Beeper Plus?
Okay, so then there's Plus.
Okay.
Plus is for enterprises.
Okay.
So it's not, it's sort of this, but like instead of 3 accounts per network, you can have unlimited accounts per network.
Gotcha. This is like I'm a social media manager.
Yeah.
And I am entering the matrix.
100%.
I will chat with everybody who responds to our accounts.
Yes, 100%.
Does it still work with iMessage or did that go away?
No, it does. They got long.
That's
rid of that.
completely gone. Like there's no integration.
And completely. Like you
Okay.
cannot even. Yeah, you can't even put your regular text through. There's Google Chat or there's Google Messages, I believe.
Yeah.
But there's no iMessage.
I think it's still worth it. It works with WhatsApp, right?
It works with WhatsApp. Yeah, I
you've
have it
sold
right
me.
now.
Oh,
interesting. I'm not trying to be a salesperson, but
well, I have
yeah.
the same thing, and like constantly from different sources, and then I also talking with people in different time zones, and it would just be so nice to have it in one spot. And does it? And
it even has Slack.
It has Slack.
It has Slack.
That might get messy.
It's going to be messy.
I don't want Slack. Period.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So you get like your Instagram messages and like your XDMs.
Yep.
And your Threads DMs?
Not yet. They don't have Threads DMs. They don't have Blue
launched?
Sky DMs.
Okay.
But they do have X. Yeah, they have Discord, LinkedIn.
This is This is the thing with Beeper where I feel like you have to be a very specific type of person who is either like, I don't know, like a messaging madman and like just lives in their inbox.
Yeah.
Or just like works organizationally that way. But honestly, like putting all those things in there, I understand why you would want that. And it also sounds like a nightmare to me.
Yeah.
I like Get this away from me.
Yeah, it does have some quirks. For example, on Mac OS, in your little notifications area where you normally get like one little text or whatever, every single notification you've got from every single different chat app shows up as a notification in your Mac.
I'm unsold.
It's not good. You can turn them off. You can turn it off. So turn it off once, you're fine. Anyway,
again, it's for people who are just like truly.
It's a power user feature.
Yeah,
hardcore.
You got to be that person.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one up, Jen. You want to talk about Google's Nest Aware subscription price is going up, and this is like a trend, right? There's been a lot of this. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah. So Google is raising the price of its Nest Aware service. So this is the service that you subscribe to if you have their cameras predominantly. So the Google Nest Cams or the Google Nest Doorbell. So this enables recorded video up to 60 days, I think it is, and other features such as familiar faces, so facial recognition. There's a whole bunch of services that come with Nest Aware. You do get I think you get up to 3 hours of free cloud storage or 3 video storage, because it's not stored in the cloud, it's stored locally, with your Google Doorbell or your Google Nest camera. But if you want more, you need to pay. And it was $8 a month or $80 a year. And now it's going from $8 a month to $10 a month or $100 a year if you pay up front. And that's for the basic Nest Aware. So the Nest Aware Plus it has all the same features as Nest Aware, but you get 60 days of video history instead of 30 plus 24/7 recording if that's what you want. So there's extra features in Nest Aware Plus, and that's now going from $15 a month to $20 a month. So from $150 a year to $200 a year if you pay annually. And this is a big jump. And they announced this yesterday with no extra features. Like, it's not like, oh, we're adding all of this and we're putting our prices up. It's just, we're putting our prices up. I think the verbiage that they said was that this was, around the current sort of atmosphere, and I'm trying to find the exact wording.
Do you have any like premium camera subscriptions?
I have
currently?
all of them.
Of course. I'm so sorry.
Yes,
wow.
I know.
This is one of the things that like has always. I understand, right? If you need a security camera, which like a lot of small businesses do, this makes a ton of sense. But like for a homeowner, and you have to keep tacking these on, and a lot of them you have to pay extra for more.
Yeah,
they keep going
this
up.
This is the second time in like
costs are not going
3
up
years.
Right.
Yeah, it had gone up. I think in 2023 it went up, and if you just have one camera, like a doorbell camera, it's like, this is a lot of money to be paying. And what's happening that's interesting, and I think this is why we're seeing the prices go up, because Ring went up recently, Arlo is another in this space that went up recently, is they're all adding AI-powered features to their higher tiers subscriptions. Things like text descriptions for alerts. So one of the most annoying things about having cameras in your home or around your home is you get a constant stream of like motion alerts. Or maybe if you pay for the subscriptions, you can get like a person alert, or if it's an animal or a vehicle. So you'll get a specific, it'll tell you what was there, so you don't have to open the app to see. Now with these text descriptions, it'll actually describe, like it'll tell me, I just set up an Arlo in my backyard for testing a floodlight, and it says, a black chicken walked across the yard. It's a calm scene. And there's a ripple of sun in the background.
It needs to get face identification and like tell you which chicken it is. It used to be like, Mary walked across the lawn.
I'm sure we'll get there. But the thing is, I don't know that, I mean, it's useful. I can see in the future there could be some use, because if AI could kind of filter out and only send you a notification when there was something you needed to hear about. This is something that Wise is doing. They have something called the no big deal filter, which is supposed to take away, like it determines what you need to know about. So a chicken walking across my yard, probably don't need to know about, but a man with a balaclava, maybe send the alert. But then so that's what we're seeing happening around smart security cameras, is this extra level of functionality. But for the majority of people, I think, who just want to know if there's a package at their front door, this in continual price increase is getting pretty hard to stomach. And most of the other services, which are around the same price, so Ring's premium service is $20, and Arlo's premium service, I think, is $29. That includes professional.
Per month?
Well, they include professional monitoring. So if you have a security system as well, the cameras and the security system are bundled. You can just pay, I think for Arlo, it's $10 a month for just a single camera, but it used to be free.
Right. This is the thing.
God.
If when you bought the camera, it showed you the price for a full year of service,
Yeah.
nobody would buy these things, right?
Yeah.
Because what you're signing up for
$200 a year
is,
on
right.
top of the camera price.
Yep. You're paying
unbelievable.
Like indefinitely, right? As long if you want these things to function to their full stability.
Yeah.
And there are like a couple of them. What is it? The Blink cameras that I think like do it all locally.
So you can, yeah, and Arlo has the option of local recording. Ring also has the option of local recording, but Nest does not. There is a minimal amount of local recording that you get for free, but beyond that, you have to use the cloud, and that's another sort of galling thing because there are many now on the market options where you don't have to use a cloud service at all. You can use a micro SD card or you can record to a hub in your home. Like Apple's HomeKit Secure Video offers that. You do pay for your cloud storage on your iCloud server. But yeah, it's just getting a little crazy.
It is fundamentally not in their interest to make it easy to do this yourself, to store it locally, right?
Right.
Like it's so much easier for them to be like, oh, it's a small amount. It's like, what are we supposed to do? And it's like, wait, what you're supposed to do is make it easy so that I don't have to pay you $200 every single year.
Yeah. Well, and they're really pushing these AI features. And it's interesting because they're not on the Google Nest cameras yet, and they're still increasing the prices. They've promised them. They're in like a beta, in a public preview, these text descriptions and some other sort of AI-powered search, Gemini-powered features, but they're not available yet. So it seems it's such a weird move to increase the prices now before offering these features to everyone. And honestly, I think Google is kind of done with Nest. There's my spicy take.
Ooh, that is the take to end on. I don't know that you're wrong.
I do like the thunder immediately after you said that.
I
That
know.
was spooky.
Okay, one last story,
Emoji.
and it is a big one. This is we saved the finest story
Yes.
for the end of the show.
I have so
All
many
right,
thoughts.
David, over to you.
All right. New emoji are coming, guys. It's a big deal. Okay. Every year, the emoji subcommittee of the Unicode Consortium, that's the specific way they wanted me to say it, releases a number of new emoji. Usually it's not that many. This time it's not that many. This time, kind of weird. Sometimes kind of weird. Last time we got like a splat emoji that was just like a bunch of slime. This time we got 8 new emoji, I believe. Yeah, about 8. So we have Apple Core, we have ballet dancers, distorted face, which is sort of like, I think this is basically a meme that they turned into an emoji. It is sort of that like really up close, super wide angle face with like eyes popping out of the side. It looks like this.
Yeah, it's like got a bug eye situation
Bug eye.
going on.
Yeah. You got a fight cloud, which is basically like in a cartoon when two characters are fighting and like there's a cloud and there's all those like things zipping around it. There's a trombone, very specific. There is what they call a hairy creature, which is clearly Bigfoot, a treasure chest, and an orca whale. So, if you don't know how this works, effectively every single year, the emoji subcommittee of the Unicode Consortium will take all of these proposals for emojis, and you have to be able to say, this is important because it has cultural significance across the entire world. People are using this a lot. You give them Google Trends data, you give them all this information, and then they vote on whether or not they should actually take in your emoji. Famously, Jay Peters of The Verge did make 2 emoji. He made the waffle emoji.
That's huge.
Yeah, huge emoji. Obviously, people are using that all the time. And he also made one other one. I'm trying to remember. It's a face of some kind.
These are
put it
important
somewhere.
contributions to humanity.
They are.
If you're getting a good the yawning face.
Yawning
These
face.
are good.
Yeah, people
But there are
use the
some
yawning
weak
face.
years. There are some weak years.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like you guys.
Yeah,
like,
there
you,
are some
You went
really-
to the drawing board, and this is what you came up
There
with.
are some very weak years,
And-
and I would say that maybe the orca whale or the fight cloud maybe
Kind of like the fight cloud. I feel like
Interesting.
I'm gonna say this is like, I don't know if this is an A+ release, but like this is a solid. This is like one
It's
of the
fairly
top
solid.
tiers, right? You threw this in the middle. I don't know how you didn't like make a point. They have one called. They've named it Hairy Creature,
Yeah.
which is bizarre.
Yeah.
It is Bigfoot.
It is Bigfoot.
It is Bigfoot walking and glancing at the camera.
It's the famous
It is the
fake
famous.
photo.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it is.
That is.
That's
I
true. That's pretty
am
amazing.
astonished
Uh-huh.
that the Grand Committee of the Unicode Consortium
Yeah.
went, You know what we need to make sure that the entire world has access to?
It's a Bigfoot.
Bigfoot
That's
emoji.
true.
I love
Yeah.
it. That alone. The rest of these could have been total losers.
Trombone makes sense.
Trombone. I
They
assume
have
they're-
trumpet. They should have trombone. They should have everything that could be in a ska band should be.
Yes.
yeah.
If they had done that as one pack, the ska year,
ska band.
they really,
year.
yeah. We
Yeah.
need to start branding it a little bit more, right? Like,
Yeah.
why isn't there
That's
a
true. They should do
pirate hat to
themes.
go with this treasure chest?
They should do themes. Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, I am wondering, because Apple, they have a seat on the Unicode consortium.
Yeah.
They must have had some strong opinions about this Apple core. This is an apple that has been bitten down to the core.
That is, ooh.
That's
there's-
true.
true.
That's not good for them.
I bet Google submitted that.
Yeah.
Probably submitted that. That is quite funny.
There's-
Yeah, Apple Core is kind of strange. Like, I understand there being an Apple,
Yeah.
but why the core? Weird. I will say, a couple of years ago, I interviewed the inventor of emoji, Shiketaka Kurita, and he told me that he thinks that there are too many emoji.
It is getting a little out of hand, I'm not going to lie.
It's getting a little crazy. I do think the ballet dancer makes sense because they already have like a disco dancer and they need other types of dance, so that makes sense. But there also opens up this whole other question, which honestly I just might write something on or make a video on or something, about what we do now that you can just generate like any emoji you want, right? Like the fact that there's a trombone or an orca whale, if these didn't exist, you could make this with Genmoji in like half a second.
That's true.
So
That's
Yeah.
true.
it becomes this giant question. The main thing is these are coded into Unicode, so they are standardized, so they're going to work on any computer that supports Unicode.
I'm very torn on the too many emoji versus not enough emoji argument because
Yeah.
like fundamentally,
Yeah.
you cannot. There's way too many emoji. It's outrageous.
Mhm.
On the other hand,
Mm.
so we use Slack at work and we have a zillion custom emoji.
Yeah.
And there's some I don't realize they're not official ones. So then I'll go to like just send a normal text message,
doesn't
And they're not
I'm like,
there.
why isn't this in
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
How did they
That's
miss this
true.
really obvious one?
That's true.
It's outrageous. And I think particularly like there was a time before they figured out how to do like
Bigfoot.
search for emoji.
Yeah.
Now that you
Oh,
can just
dude.
type it in, it's like, yeah. I will say I feel terrible, right? If you're starting up, I mean, I don't know who is in this position, but if you're starting up an app and you want to have your own presentation of the emoji, oh boy, that's an uphill battle now.
Oh,
You got a
dude.
lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
little things to draw.
Yeah, you can use, you should just use the platform.
Yeah.
Twitter famously has its own emoji for some reason, but usually it's just Google/Android, Apple, Microsoft are like the main ones. And you can, as a app developer, you can default to system emoji, and you should, because if you
Yes.
want to make your own emoji, you can, but you gotta draw every single one. So
Yes. But if you only have to make 8 new ones a year, that's very manageable.
yeah, if you've already made the other I
But
don't even know how many there are.
you got to choose wisely. And these are pretty good. I don't know. I think I would have cut the whale.
I
the
would like
orca.
the.
I don't want to be rude, but like
I would've cut-
I'm not using the orca.
But
It's a
you're-
cute orca.
What are you gonna use Bigfoot
It's smiling.
for? Please tell me what you're gonna use
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot for.
I'm telling you this. Bigfoot is going to. Is there like an emoji ranking chart? It
Yes.
is going to shoot
It's going to
to
be
the
at the top.
of.
It is.
Actually,
It is-
this is part of that news, kind of, because World Emoji Day was this week. And as part of World Emoji Day, they brought back the emoji ranking chart because they used to have a World Emoji ranking chart that used Twitter as its database of like how much people are using
Oh.
emojis, but then Elon cut off the
Yeah.
API. So now they were able to bring it back as of this week. So
I'm
we're going
excited.
to see.
I'm telling you. Listen, 1 year from today, this is my prediction.
Yeah.
Bigfoot's going to be in the top 10. It's
I'm setting a calendar. alert.
anytime. This is. I think it's going to ebb and flow as government conspiracies come and go. But oh boy, I think there's a lot of room for Bigfoot.
There is
right
a
now.
UFO emoji, so I guess there
Yeah.
should be a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
emoji.
I think Bigfoot's.
But then you need like a Loch Ness monster.
Again, this is why they need to do themes.
Every
If they had done a monsters year, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that'd be
We-
funny.
Yeah, I'm very excited by Distorted Face, I have to say. I think Distorted Face with the eyebrows leaving its head, I'm going to be using that one a lot. And the Fight Cloud, pretty fun. But yeah, I agree with Jake that Bigfoot really is the shining star of this. I want to know how we can get, like, I'm not very up on the emoji world because, it is how my children communicate with me. But how do these get chosen? Like, can I submit some suggestions, please?
Yeah, you can. You actually can.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you can do it
You
yourself.
actually literally talk to Jay. Like
Okay.
he's
Yeah.
yeah. It's a process.
It's quite a process.
You need to. It is really funny. Like the Unicode Conservative, it sounds like it's like this formal body.
Yeah.
It is the most like religious-esque body in all of technology.
Yeah.
It is, these counselors from all the companies.
Yeah, I technically am part of it because I pay $75 a year. So.
Oh, right. So you're the guy we
Yeah.
should talk to. But
I don't know about that.
as someone who has, built a career on writing words, I have always slightly shied away from using emojis. But I have to learn how to communicate with the youth. So I'm getting there. My mum, who is 80, like all of her text messages are basically emojis now. So it's not a generational thing. I think it's a writer thing. I like to use the words.
I like find a few and I just like key in on them.
Right. Yeah, that's probably where I would say, and that's what I like about the distorted face. I feel like I could use that a lot.
That's it. That's what you got to find. Yeah. The
Yeah.
sweating face, everything. I send it with everything.
Yeah. I think this could replace that though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slack also has HDR emoji, by the way, which is awful.
Wait, what is it?
HDR emoji.
HDR emoji?
Yeah, so you can send them in Slack, and if it's an HDR emoji, it's just way brighter than
That
everything
is
around
crazy.
it. It just uses those pixels on your like MacBook display and lights them up like 5 times as bright. It's horrible.
That's terrible.
Do not recommend it.
I live in a place where we have a lot of thunderstorms, and I'm not going to lie, this is kind of giving me some trauma.
And that's it for the Vergecast. Mia Sato is hosting Tuesday's episode. You should tune in. It's going to be great. If you like what we do here, the best way to support us is to buy a paid subscription to The Verge. And we would love to hear your feedback. I just got access to the Vergecast email, so please hit us up there at vergecast@theverge.com, or you can give us a call, 866-VERGE-11. The Vergecast is a production of The Verge and Vox Media Podcast Network. Our show is produced by Eric Gomez, Brandon Kiefer, Travis Larchuk, and Andrew Marino. See you next week.